All right, let's talk about the performance that has a lot of Steelers fans talking. Broderick Jones in that preseason opener against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now look, the spotlight was definitely on a young left tackle. And even though he only played 2 series, what we saw in those few reps gave us a good glimpse into where he is right now and where he's headed. Let's be real, it wasn't perfect. There were a couple of plays where you can tell he's still figuring things out. But overall, there was a lot more to like than to criticize. Right out the gate, you notice something different about Broderick. On that very first play, a quick pass to the outside with Scotty Miller going in motion. It's not the kind of play where you can just drop back like it's a typical pass protection. That's the thing about these quick throws. You don't want your lineman just sitting back, reacting. You want aggression. You want your tackle to step forward and shut down any chance of the defensive end getting into the passing lane. And that's exactly what Jones did. He didn't just sit back and let the play develop. He anchored that back foot and then attacked. That's detail. That's knowing what kind of pass is being thrown and adjusting your technique accordingly. These are the kinds of small things that don't show up in the stat sheet, but coaches love to see on tape. It shows growth. It shows he's learning to process the game at NFL speed. And here's the thing. This wasn't just against some no-name, third-string edge rusher. This was Hines Allen, a legit starter. And Broderick Jones held his own. That matters. Because when you're a first-round pick, it's not just about surviving out there. It's about showing that you can eventually dominate. On that rep, he did his job and did it well. A fraction of a second is all Mason Rudolph needed, and Jones made sure he got it without any disruption. Then there's the next rep, and this one really stood out. This time, it's not a quick throw. We're talking about full pass protection. This is the real test for any young tackle. How do you move? How do you use your hands? Are you the one dictating the contact, or are you reacting? What was great to see here was Jones taking control. He gets off the line clean, footwork is solid, and he gets his hands on Allen first. That's a huge win. Because if the defender gets into your chest first, you're already at a disadvantage. But Jones controls it, stays in front of him, even when Allen tries to slap his hands down and disengage. Jones sticks with it, keeps the block clean, no holding, just good, disciplined technique. And most importantly, even if Rudolph had held onto the ball for a little longer, Jones was still engaged. That's what you want out of your blindside protector. Now, we move to a play that maybe wouldn't even get talked about on Sunday broadcast. One of those blink and you miss it reps, but said a lot about how much more aware Broderick is this year. Last season, there were times when he looked, let's just say, unsure. Like he didn't always know exactly what his role was in a given play. Was it a coaching issue? Was it just rookie growing pains? Doesn't really matter. What matters is what he looks like now. And on this play, you could see a guy who is reading and reacting in real time. He sees that Smoot, number 58, is supposed to be rushing but hesitates. Meanwhile, Darnell Washington runs his route and they get in each other's way for a second. Broderick doesn't just freeze or overcommit. He scans inside, checks if Spence has the defensive tackle locked down, sees that he does, and then quickly adjusts when 58 finally comes off the delay. That's awareness. That's the kind of stuff that keeps your quarterback upright. Yes, he did get pushed back a bit on that rep, but he was ready. He anticipated the move and stood his ground. There was another solid play, the one right before the touchdown to Darnell Washington, where again, Broderick is left on an island. No help from a tight end. He's facing Hines Allen again, and you get a good look at his technique. First step is clean, back foot anchors, but then, and this is where you start to nitpick like an O-line coach, his base starts to narrow. Not a huge problem on this play because the ball comes out quick and there's no bull rush. But if Allen had gone for a power move in that moment, with feet that close together, Jones would have been in real trouble. That's something he'll need to clean up. You always want your tackle to keep a wide base. It's your foundation. Lose that and you lose your leverage. And when you're dealing with NFL-caliber edge rushers, leverage is everything. And speaking of technique, this rep also showed one of the things that could hold Jones back if he doesn't fix it, dropping his head. When a lineman buries his head into contact, it means he's guessing. He's banking on that first punch landing and ending the battle. But in the NFL, pass rushers are too good. If you drop your head and lose that initial contact, you're done. You can't recover because you can't see the counter. Now, to his credit, Jones recovers decently. He gets walked back a little, but re-anchors, resets his feet, and makes sure the pocket doesn't collapse. That's encouraging, but it's also something that coaches will circle 10 times in the film room and say, fix this. And they're right to do so. Now let's talk about the sack. And let me be clear, this one's not on Broderick. It's not on the offensive line at all. This is 100% on Mason Rudolph. The play develops. Smoot moves inside. Spence picks him up, and Broderick is kind of looking around like, all right, who's next? Maybe he's expecting someone else to loop around or blitz, but no one comes. Still, he passes off Smoot cleanly, and then nothing. Rudolph just stands there, and keeps standing there. Easily over 5 seconds go by. You cannot do that. In today's NFL, the average quarterback gets about 3 to 3.5 seconds before pressure gets home. If you hold it any longer than that, you're asking for trouble. And sure enough, the sack comes. But again, not on Jones. This wasn't a blown protection. It was a quarterback holding onto the ball too long and not pulling the trigger when Roman Wilson was open downfield. Those are the kinds of plays that stall drives, and you can't afford that, especially when your offensive line is doing its job. But then we get to the one rep, the one that made everyone hold their breath. Smoot comes around the edge again, and this time, he uses a legit move. Not just a bull rush, not just hand fighting. He swats down both of Broderick's hands, gets him off balance, and flies right around him. This was the kind of rep that Jones absolutely has to eliminate from his game. The kind that reminds you he's still developing. It's not just that he got beat. It's how he got beat. His hands were out of sync, his head dropped again, and just like that, the pass rusher was gone. You never want to see a left tackle in that position, chasing a guy who's already halfway to the quarterback. The only saving grace was that the ball was already out, so it didn't result in a sack or a big hit. But still, that's the stuff that gets replayed in meetings. That's the kind of rep that coaches will say, this can't happen. Now here's the encouraging part. That rep was the exception, not the rule. Over the course of his snaps, Jones showed more poise, better hand placement, and more aggression. And let's not forget, he's still adjusting physically too. In training camp, he reportedly dropped some weight, said he was sitting around 305 pounds. Some people think he might actually be under 300, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It shows in his movement. He's lighter on his feet, quicker to react. But when you drop weight, you've also got to make sure you're not giving up too much anchor strength. And in most of his reps, he held strong. There's also a clear contrast when you look at someone like Troy Fautanu. Just watch the footwork. Fautanu is already more polished, smoother in his steps, doesn't get as narrow, and doesn't overcommit. But that's okay, because Broderick Jones doesn't need to be perfect in August. What he needs to show is growth. And if you compare this performance to what we saw from him last season, it's night and day. He's more confident, more decisive, and he's understanding what the offense needs from him on each type of play. It's also worth pointing out that some of the best things he did out there won't show up in highlights or make headlines. They're the subtle details, attacking the correct shoulder, mirroring the defender, checking inside before the delayed blitz hits, recovering after a shove. Those are the things that earn trust from coaches and teammates. Those are the building blocks of becoming a long-term starter in the NFL. So look, was it perfect? No. Was it promising? Absolutely. One ugly rep doesn't erase 10 solid ones. If anything, it just gives the coaching staff a clear teaching point, something to focus on heading into the next preseason games. Because if Broderick Jones keeps stacking good reps like this, if he keeps refining the technique, keeps learning the details, we're going to be talking about this kid as a cornerstone of the Steelers' offensive line for years to come. As we dive deeper into Broderick Jones's performance against the Jaguars, it becomes even clearer that what we're witnessing is a young offensive lineman beginning to turn the corner in his development. You can't emphasize enough how crucial these preseason snaps are for a player like Jones. Not just for evaluation, but for confidence, for timing, for translating everything he's been drilled on in camp into real game speed scenarios. Because make no mistake, practice reps matter, but nothing simulates actual NFL competition like a live snap in a game setting. And for Jones, every one of these reps is a test, not just of his physical tools, but of his ability to process, adapt, and execute under pressure. One of the things that jumped out the most watching Broderick over these few series was his poise. There's a different energy to the way he's lining up. Last year, you could sometimes catch glimpses of hesitation, a slight pause in his first step, a delay in hand placement, almost like he was second-guessing the play or unsure of his responsibility. That wasn't there this time. What we saw instead was a player who looked ready, but looked like he knew the assignment and trusted his technique to carry it out. And that's not something you fake. That only comes when a player is starting to feel comfortable in the system and confident in his role. On several reps, you could see this trust in action. There's one play in particular that serves as a great example. The defense shifts post-snap, and you can see Broderick process it in real time. He doesn't panic. He keeps his feet under him, eyes up, scans across the line, and passes his man off with complete control. Then, just as the linebacker threatens the B gap, Jones adjusts and positions himself to absorb contact if needed. It's subtle. It doesn't end in a pancake or a highlight reel block, but it's high-level awareness. That's the kind of play that builds trust with your quarterback. It tells the coaching staff he's seeing it. He's not guessing. He's playing fast because he knows what to expect. Another thing that stood out is how much more controlled his hand usage looked compared to his rookie season. There were moments last year where Jones looked like he was just trying to survive the snap. His punches were wild. He'd lunge, get off balance, and open himself up to counters. That's not what we saw here. Against a solid edge presence like Hines Allen, Broderick came out with a plan. He set the edge early, timed his punches better, and more importantly, stayed engaged throughout the rep. Even when Allen tried to disengage or reset the attack angle, Jones remained glued. He wasn't reaching. He wasn't leaning. He let his feet do the work, and his hands followed with precision. That's a big-time step forward. Now, yes, there were a couple of plays where the technique started to break down, and one that was flat-out bad. But context matters. The rep where Smoot beats him clean with a double swipe, that's a teachable moment, not a red flag. Because up to that point, Broderick had seen mostly straight-line power rushes. Hand-fighting, bull rushes, maybe a speed-to-power conversion here and there. But this was the first time in the game where a rusher came at him with real finesse, a planned, timed-out move designed to exploit exactly the kind of stiffness that sometimes creeps into Jones's game. Smoot hits him with a clean left-right hand swipe, knocks both of Broderick's hands down, and suddenly he's in the backfield before Jones can even react. It's a bad look, no doubt. But again, that kind of move is exactly what he needs to see in August so it doesn't catch him by surprise in October. And honestly, these are the growing pains that most tackles go through. Even the best of them. What separates the good from the great is how they respond. And the encouraging thing about Jones is that he doesn't seem rattled by a bad rep. He's not coming out on the next snap overcompensating, overcorrecting, or second-guessing himself. He resets, comes back to his fundamentals, and plays the next down. That kind of mental toughness is a huge part of surviving in this league, especially at a position like left tackle, where every mistake is magnified and can be the difference between a clean pocket or a strip sack. Let's go back to that touchdown play to Darnell Washington. There's a lot to love there. The Steelers lineup empty, no help in protection, and it's Broderick versus Hines Allen again. What's beautiful about this rep is the initial quickness. Broderick explodes out of his stance, doesn't waste movement, and keeps his base wide through the first two steps. Now, the feet do get a little narrow as the play develops, which again is something you want to clean up. But what matters is that he recognizes it. He adjusts. He gets back to a wider base before contact is made. That recovery mid-rep shows body control. And that's not something you can teach easily. That's instinct paired with good coaching. Also, even as he gets walked back slightly, he stays balanced. He drops that right foot, regains leverage, and the pocket stays intact long enough for Rudolph to hit Washington for 6. It's not flashy. It's not violent. But it's clean, controlled, and effective, and that's what wins games. Now, one area that still needs work, and it's something that shows up in a few different reps, is how Broderick deals with delayed rushers or late pressure. There's one play in particular where Smoot initially drops back, then comes on a delayed blitz. For a moment, Jones is stuck in no man's land. He's watching, waiting, maybe trying to decide if he should help inside or stay home. To his credit, he does recognize the late rush and gets into position, but the delay in reaction is something that could be exploited by smarter defenses. It's not a huge deal, and again, it didn't result in a hit or pressure, but it's the kind of hesitation that a savvy defensive coordinator will pick up on. These are the little mental reps he'll need to sharpen week to week. Physically, though, the dude looks different. He dropped weight, and you can see the difference in how he's moving. His lateral quickness is noticeably better. He's not plodding. He's not lumbering side to side. He's flowing. That lighter frame gives him the ability to mirror pass rushers more effectively, especially when they try to hit him with inside counters. And even though he may have lost a bit of bulk, he's still holding up at the point of attack. He's not getting bullied. He's not on skates. That's a huge win, because the concern with a lineman dropping weight is that they become too finesse, all movement, no power. But Broderick seems to have found a balance. He's mobile without being weak, agile without being soft. Another thing worth pointing out, and this matters in the long run, is how he's communicating. You can see on film, before the snap, he's scanning. He's calling stuff out. He's signaling across the line. That wasn't happening consistently last season. He was focused on his own assignment, trying to stay afloat. But now, he's starting to take ownership. That's leadership. That's being a pro. Because the best defensive lines are cohesive units. They're not just 5 guys doing their job. They're 5 guys working in sync, adjusting protections together, reacting as one. And when your left tackle starts becoming vocal and assertive, it sets the tone. And here's the part that should get fans most excited. This isn't even his ceiling. We're not watching a finished product. We're watching the early signs of a guy putting it all together. The athleticism, the technique, the awareness, it's all beginning to align. There's still work to be done, sure. He needs to clean up the head dips. He needs to be more consistent with his punch timing. He needs to stay wide in his base and resist the temptation to get narrow under pressure. But those are all fixable things. The core traits, the things you can't coach, are there. He's not just playing not to mess up. He's playing to dominate. There's a difference. You can see it in the way he attacks the line of scrimmage, the way he sets his feet, the way he adjusts mid-rep. And that attitude, that controlled aggression, is what will carry him forward. Even in that final bad rep where Smoot beats him, it's not like Broderick quits on the play. He gets beat, yes, but he doesn't freeze. He turns, tries to recover, and the ball comes out before disaster strikes. That's what you want, because everyone gets beat eventually, even the all-pros. What matters is how you recover, both in the rep and in the game. Does it shake you, or do you come back better? And so far, Broderick's coming back better. The last couple of practices leading up to this game reportedly showed the same thing. A player who's starting to stack good days, one after another. That's how growth works. It's not about having one flawless game. It's about consistently improving, adding new wrinkles, fixing what didn't work the week before. And Jones is doing that. He's learning from his mistakes. He's listening to coaching. He's adapting his game. It's still early. There's still a long way to go before week 1. But if this game was any indication, the Steelers might finally have the kind of left tackle they can build around. A guy who doesn't just fill the spot, but owns it. A guy who can protect the blind side for years to come. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors have been swirling around the Pittsburgh Steelers off-season strategy, and the latest buzz points toward a significant reinforcement of their offensive line with the possible acquisition of Tevin Jenkins. The buzz among insiders and fans alike centers on the belief that Jenkins could become an unbreakable wall in protecting the quarterback, an area where the Steelers have sought improvement in recent seasons. Known for his tenacity and impressive physicality, Jenkins is rumored to bring a new level of stability and power to the line, addressing a key vulnerability that has often plagued Pittsburgh's offense. The speculation suggests that the team is targeting Jenkins to solidify pass protection, which would allow the quarterback more time to execute plays, potentially transforming the dynamics of the Steelers' offensive game plan. Enthusiasts are particularly excited about the possibility that Jenkins could be the cornerstone of what might be called an invincible offensive wall, a feature that could dramatically elevate the team's competitive edge in a highly demanding league. The conversations within the Steelers fanbase and sports media hint at high expectations, with many believing that Jenkins' arrival would not only plug existing gaps, but also inspire confidence throughout the offensive unit. This anticipation fuels widespread chatter about how this strategic move might impact the Steelers' prospects in the upcoming season and beyond, sparking debates and hopeful projections about the team's resurgence. Sources close to the team suggest that Jenkins' skill set perfectly aligns with what Pittsburgh needs, especially given his blend of strength, agility, and football intelligence. Speculation continues to build around how Jenkins might mesh with the current lineup, creating what some are calling a mighty fortress around the quarterback. Reports indicate that Jenkins excels in both run blocking and pass protection, offering a dual-threat capability that could open up more dynamic play-calling options for the Steelers' coaching staff. This versatility, according to insiders, could be the game-changer that the Steelers have been craving. With Jenkins potentially anchoring the line, there's talk that the offense could see a resurgence in consistency and production, something that has been somewhat elusive in recent years. Fans and analysts alike are buzzing with theories about how Jenkins' presence might relieve pressure on other offensive players, especially the quarterback, who often faced relentless blitzes in past seasons. The whispers growing louder in the sports community suggest that Jenkins could be the missing piece in Pittsburgh's puzzle, potentially marking a new era for the Steelers' offensive unit. Discussions on sports talk shows, social media platforms, and fan forums are dominated by the excitement and curiosity surrounding Jenkins' possible integration and the transformation it might spark on the field. The rumor mill also highlights the strategic implications of acquiring Jenkins, as Pittsburgh appears to be focusing heavily on offensive stability and longevity. Jenkins, who has garnered praise for his durability and work ethic, is believed to bring more than just physical prowess to the table. He reportedly has a high football IQ and a leadership presence that could elevate the entire offensive line's cohesion. Speculators suggest that this acquisition might signal a shift in the Steelers' philosophy, with a renewed emphasis on protecting their star quarterback and sustaining longer drives to control the clock. This approach could lead to a more balanced and effective offense, reducing turnovers and increasing scoring opportunities. Moreover, Jenkins' rumored arrival has sparked discussion about the Steelers' draft and trade strategies, hinting that the team is willing to invest resources into building a dominant offensive front that can withstand the pressures of an increasingly aggressive defensive league. Analysts speculate that Jenkins could become the cornerstone of this vision, serving as a linchpin in the team's long-term plans. The intrigue surrounding his potential signing reflects a growing consensus that strengthening the offensive line is paramount to reviving Pittsburgh's championship aspirations, fueling a wave of optimism among the team's supporters and commentators. In addition to the tactical benefits, the Jenkins rumor has ignited excitement about the cultural and motivational impact he might have on the Steelers' locker room. Known for his relentless dedication and team-first mentality, Jenkins is rumored to be a player who leads by example and commands respect from teammates. This characteristic is believed to be exactly what the Steelers need as they aim to build a resilient and united squad capable of overcoming adversity. The chatter suggests that Jenkins' presence might foster a stronger sense of camaraderie and accountability within the offensive line, encouraging other players to elevate their performances. This potential boost in morale and competitive spirit could translate into improved communication and execution on the field, key factors in winning close games. Fans and insiders alike are imagining a scenario where Jenkins not only protects the quarterback physically, but also uplifts the entire team mentally and emotionally, becoming a pivotal figure in Pittsburgh's locker room culture. The ongoing buzz reflects the hope that this possible acquisition will spark a chain reaction, propelling the Steelers to new heights both on and off the field. Enthusiasts eagerly await confirmation, already picturing Jenkins as the linchpin of a revamped offensive identity. Finally, speculation remains rife about how the possible addition of Tevin Jenkins could reshape the Steelers' season outlook and long-term trajectory. If the rumors come true, Jenkins might not just be a player, but a symbol of Pittsburgh's renewed ambitions to reclaim their status as a dominant NFL force. The ongoing discussions hint at the belief that his impact could extend beyond the offensive line, influencing overall team strategy and success. Analysts suggest that with Jenkins fortifying the line, the Steelers could become more aggressive in their offensive schemes, allowing for greater creativity and risk-taking. This might translate into more explosive plays and higher scoring, thrilling fans and challenging opponents. The narrative around Jenkins emphasizes that his role could be transformative, bridging past struggles and future potential. While nothing is confirmed, the excitement and hope surrounding Jenkins are palpable, fueling conversations about the Steelers' chances to break through in a fiercely competitive league. This rumor, if realized, could mark the beginning of a new chapter in Pittsburgh's storied football history, one defined by strength, resilience, and championship aspirations renewed by the arrival of a seemingly invincible wall in Tevin Jenkins. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.